Shalom. This is Abik back with something to talk about, an edification and information for those that are taking heed. I want to thank my 107th subscriber as well as my 106th subscriber and as well as my 105th subscriber as well as my 104th. Again, I take days off and sometimes weeks off from posting edifications and videos, and I come back and check my subscribers, and they're increasing. So I want to say thank you for subscribing to my channel. I do understand that all of my subscribers may or may not be biblical and Israelites, perhaps. They may not consider themselves Hebrews and following the laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. My channel is for edification and information. I want to also wish all my subscribers I want to say that I wish all my subscribers are in good health and high spirits, and that you and yours are safe and taking heed to the agendas that are waged against us, citizens that are behind enemy lines in America. Okay, so today I wasn't going to post the video, but I decided to make a video because lately I've been having conversations with adults, male and female, and I wanted to touch on this. I wanted to touch briefly on this single motherhood thing because single motherhood has been normalized by both men and women, and I have a huge problem with the so-called black community and the values between male and female Hebrews, whether they know they're Hebrew Israelites or not, but the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. But the so-called black community it consists of single mothers mostly, and fatherhood is destroyed and has been destroyed by single motherhood and the supportiveness of single motherhood by both male and female. And I just wanted to speak briefly about this normalization of single motherhood. Scientifically, the sperma or the sperm comes from the male, and if anyone examines sperma, they'll find that the sperm looks like tadpoles, right? And those are male and female sperm, right? So the children come from the penis and the testicles, right? So the men have the sperm, and the females, of course, ovulate on the 14th, 15th, and 16th day after the first day of their initial period, right? So from what I'm studying and from what I've studied, and everything that I say is not subjective. But from what I'm studying as far as world knowledge and information, which can be studied, and I don't expect anyone to disagree with what the world considers science, and how women produce, and how children are sperm. They start off as sperm, and then the cycle breeds adults, right? So I don't expect anyone to disagree with how we as humans evolve into adults, right? And where the origin of children begin, in the scrotum, right? So this is I want to cover this briefly real quick because in 2024 today, women are not educating the children, and the community, the so-called black community, is not educated about, and they're not enforcing, the so-called black community is not enforcing the fatherhood, right? So the values break down between two adults, and then the family is destroyed. So there's no fathers in the households, and the women end up being single mothers in more than one way. One way is by choice. The other ways are another way is a lack of shared values. And then there's another way, and there's more than these ways. There's multiple ways that women end up as single mothers, right? And then there's another way where the women are not, the women decide to end a relationship with a man, and they start taking their belongings, right? Let's say the day that a woman decides to leave a relationship, right? And she takes her belongings. And I'm talking about her assets, her clothes, and anything that belongs to her, right? That she purchased from the premises, right? And then she also takes the children, right? So that is a choice, right? Now, men in 2024, in certain cases from what I'm aware of, the men rather the women take the children as well. If that's just, we're talking about children being involved, so I'm going to explain the fallout with children involved and how single motherhood exists, whether by choice or by force. Now, the women that are taking their belongings and taking the children as well, okay? The women are not fighting like violently or physically, and I mean domestically, a domestic violent situation. Women are not fighting the men to take the children, to keep the children. And the men are not fighting the women to take the children, right? I'm talking about physically, like punches being thrown, police being called. I'm talking about violence. The women are not fighting or attacking the men to take the children. And the men are not fighting and getting violent with the women to take the children. And the men are not fighting physically, in most cases, to keep the children. Now, I've seen cases where men have been deleted or put to death for having their children without the mother's consent. I've seen police called on the father and being accused of kidnapping the children. Okay. I've seen the fathers support single motherhood and find themselves being fathers only when they're supporting the single motherhood of their child's mother. Now, what my stance on this is, I'm observing it because I had both my parents. My parents were married. Okay, I was raised with my parents. Right. My parents later divorced after I became like 40 or something like that. But up until that point, they were together. So I'm noticing that some cases the women are expecting the men to contribute to her being a single mother before she allows the father to have access to his child or his children, right? So that is this new normalizing of single motherhood, right? Now, when the values are not shared and the woman is taking these children, right? What I notice is that these females who choose to be single mothers and they rather the men visit or support her household as a single mother before the men have access to the children. I noticed that the women do not want to be in that situation that they decide the men should be in. So what that means is females in America do not like being put on child support. Females in America do not like to contributing to single fatherhood, right? Let's just say the tables was turned and the men were the ones that normalized keeping the children, and women do not think supporting or contributing to a male household is a good idea, right? So this is why I noticed that families used to share the same values. The women were in their rightful divine place, right? And the women in 2024, they gatekeep their sex, right? And the men are the gatekeepers of a relationship. So women cannot say they're in a relationship without the man establishing his values, right? Now, this is all biblical. And what I say is biblical as far as a man being the head of the household and the man being the head of a relationship. The women are not the heads of relationships. Women are not groomed to share the values of the men. And I'm talking about in a land of wives, right? So, and I'm gonna cover this in order, okay? Because I'm starting with the values and the household and the single motherhood, okay, and how the women can't prevent single motherhood no matter how they exercise their right to have sex, right? They end up single mothers no matter what. So if the so-called black community was trying to prevent single motherhood, I don't believe personally that they would be able to do it, because the women do not support fatherhood. Fatherhood will be the solution. So let's talk about the woman that doesn't take suggestions and advice. Like, if there's men that are on that are listening to this that have met women with children, right? And if the children is too young, like 4 years old, right? And you're not trying to be a simp, right? You're not trying to step into this situation with this woman and you're not trying to be a stepdad, and you don't want these children calling you dad and stuff like that. If you're not trying to replace the biological father like a simp would, right? Because simps don't have no problem stepping in and having another man's child or children referring to him as daddy, right? So these women are finding themselves in these situations with these men, and if you're not if you're not one of these men who want to step in and downplay the biological father because she decided to leave him. So in the Bible, women are not allowed to divorce. They're allowed to leave a man but not divorce a man, right? So those are my values. So I get to study America and relationships through the lenses of the law of the Bible, right? So it saves me, right? Keeping the commandments saves me from a lot of, I get to duck a lot of bullets and dodge a lot of bullets, right? With these women over here in America that are not biblical and lawful. Okay, so I'm studying these situations that women find themselves in. So I've heard women, consider the father of their children deadbeats, right? And the deadbeats are the ones that I've noticed are the ones that don't support her as a single mother. So I've explained this to certain women that are adults, that men who don't support single motherhood, that doesn't make them a deadbeat, right? He could be an amazing father, but, for some reason, the relationship failed between these two adults, And then there's the cases where women are getting pregnant and they're not even in relationships. A relationship is based on the foundations of values, right? We say laws according to the Bible, but the same values. Now, me personally, I don't agree with cheating. There's no such thing as cheating. It's just adultery. And according to the Bible, a married man is allowed to have to marry another woman and have multiple wives, and he's also allowed to have sex with a woman that's not married, right? The sin is a married man having sex with another married woman, right? So those are my beliefs. Before I was into the Bible, I was raised Muslim, but I had an epiphany, right? When I went to war in Iraq, when I was in the Marine Corps, and I had an epiphany. Okay, and then when I studied the Bible, there were the bloodlines in the Bible and the 18 races of people on the planet, and it explained who's who. I knew I wasn't no stinking ass African. I knew that race is not based on geographics. Race is based on bloodline. I knew that. Both of my parents are from the tribes of Israel. Okay. So I knew I wasn't Haitian, a Levite. I knew I wasn't Jamaican, a Benjamite, right? I knew I wasn't Mexican, a Issacharite, all right? I knew I wasn't, from the tribe of Asher, right? I knew I wasn't a Colombian, right? or you know what I'm saying, from Argentina, right? And I knew I wasn't no damn Arab, right? So I had to repent, and I had to figure out who am I, who am I as a race, okay? I can't just change my race because of a geographic, because I was born in, Australia, or because I was born in Europe, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't make me a European, okay? So my values are not Western. I don't celebrate paganism, and I don't believe in the false god or false prophet Jesus. I believe in Yahweh Shai, which is his real name. Okay, so I don't worship dumb idols. I don't bow down to statues and graven images of wood and stone. Okay, so
Is your name Raymond? Raymond Moore?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your package is over here. They put your package at the wrong house.
Boy, they be messing up, sis.
I'm 203A. You 205A. Yo, I had to walk. I said, gotta be in this business somewhere. I'm about to bring it to you right now.
They be messing up, sis.
Boy, you know what I'm saying? Put it everywhere.
Boy. Salaki, excuse me. My neighbor is bringing me a package that the damn UPS put at the wrong door. So give me 1 second.
They put it at her doorstep.
Give me 1 second.
We see all this A.
I appreciate it, sis.
No problem at all. The mail woman Janet, she couldn't get this in the box, so I told her I'll just take it for you.
She did that with my mail before, didn't she? Remember she brought the envelope to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you up there.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, we already here close together.
That's
I
right.
said, so I hold it for the person.
Thank you, sis.
No problem at all.
I got you, sis.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, Salaki, I'm back. Those are my neighbors. I live around a bunch of single mothers, old and young, where I live at. But they're decent sisters outside of being a single mother and all of that stuff, So, but back to what I was back to what I'm making this content about. And again, the single motherhood and the breakdown between the families, right? So when I noticed that in America, and again in America, women they overstep their boundaries as far as their position of power, and women are sexual whether they're in relationships or not, right? So this is what I noticed, that is another silver lining, is that men in the West and in Babylon and America and in 2024, men can have sex with women that they do not like, right? And women find themselves having sex with men that they're not in relationships with. The relationship starts when values are matched, and there's a covenant that is established between the male and the female, not the contract laws with America. All right, and this is and a lot of Western women do not believe in Yahweh. They do not believe in the Most High, because far too many women in the West don't agree that a covenant holds any weight, right? if they can't get the Edomites, the so-called white man, involved with like a plantation marriage where it reminds me of the movie Life, right, where Martin Lawrence was taking the female into the I think it was a shed or a barn or something, and I guess he was gonna have sex with this woman, and the slave master said, well, is this your wife? And he said no. And then he said, well, I only sign off on married couple. And he said, well, for a fee, he told Martin, for a fee, I can marry you, right? And then he gave him they gave the damn Edomite, the white man, some shekels. And then he said, I'll now pronounce you husband and wife, right? And then they considered themselves, I don't know, briefly married or something like that, because Martin and the woman didn't even have to. She didn't even stick around with Martin when he aged on the plantation. She left him, right? And there was no divorce papers involved or nothing like that. She just didn't stick around with him. And that was part of his bad news that he got, right? I think he said that the woman was supposed to go down there and turn some papers in to his lawyer, and the lawyer wound up running off with the woman, right? So I noticed that over in the West, that men who fornicate, right, perverts, whatever you want to call them, men can agree with this, that they can have sex with women that they do not like. But the flip side of that coin is women have sex with men that they're not in relationships, right? The majority of the time. And a lot of these children that are being born over here in the West in America by so-called Black, Latino, and Native American women, especially the so-called Black woman, they were born outside of a relationship, right? And a lot of women in the West do not agree that the act of sex is preserved for marriage, right? Right? They don't even believe that sex is marriage, right? And sex is marriage according to the Bible, right? There's no rings being put on nobody's finger in the Bible. Now, and this is another reason why religious converts do not agree with the Bible, because they have a pagan ceremony. Pagan ceremony and a Hebrew Bible. It doesn't go together. Okay. So a lot of men meet women in the West, and the women have children, and her finances is tied up into her children, and she's required to pay for everything. Now, me personally, when I see a woman with children, I'm not trying to be a stepdaddy. And a lot of these men are not there when women are with other women, like their mothers and other single mothers and their aunties and all these, single cousins, single mother cousins and all of this. When they get around these women, they're boss bees. They want to be boss bees, queen bee, boss bee, right? I don't need no man, right? And then when they get with the fathers of the children and that father wants to have access to his child, she'll say, well, you don't help me do nothing. Or when the children say, I want to go with my father, the women that don't like their children's fathers will say, well, they'll get upset and say, well, what you want to go with him for, right? He don't do nothing for you. He don't never do nothing. He don't help me with you. And, well, I thought you was a boss bee, right? It reminded me of the movie Boys in the Hood, where Trey was living with his father, Lawrence Fishburne. And Trey's mother called and asked Trey, when are you coming to visit me? You don't never come visit me. And he pretty much was letting her know, I don't want to be over there. I'm over here with my father, right? Because Trey saw that Doughboy and Ricky didn't have fathers. They had different fathers, too. and they lived with a single mother. Their mother was a single mother, and she was ignorant. She was ignorant, right? She was pathetic, right? And women who do not teach or do not promote the father is where they come from, she'll say, well, these are my children. These are my children, mine, right? These are my children, right? Like Daffy Duck and the cartoon. These are mine, right? All right. Now, two things that I'm going to say about this. Women that claim that the children are hers, right? And she'll take it a step further and she will not give the children the last name of the fathers, right? So Trey saw that Doughboy's mother was a single mother, and Trey and Doughboy was a gangbanger, and Ricky was an athlete, but the household was crazy, right? And Doughboy Trey told his mother straight up, like, no, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'm over here with my father. You know, he's raising me like a man, and he has leadership. My father has leadership. He's teaching me how to be a man. So I can't learn how to be a man over there with you. You know, his mama had a nice ass house, had some luxurious landscape that she was over there sitting on, but she was boring. And Trey didn't want to go over there with her. He didn't want to be with no single mother. He wanted to be with his father, like children supposed to be, right? So these women that have these children, and then the dynamics of the fathers and the men normalizing single motherhood, they don't contribute to these women. So when men meet women with children, he can't even have her to himself. And then a lot of these too many women are trying to get the next man to support her as a single mother as well. You know? And when men start asking questions like, well, what's up with the father of the children? Oh, they're not involved. Okay, well, the men got to take heed to stuff like that, because you don't want to have children with her and she do you the same way. You know? And remember, women over in the West, they believe that they can pull the plug on relationships, and they also consider the children theirs. They'll give the children their last name, and now you're raising her children, right? So, and men don't like that spiritually. They don't like to raise children that are they don't like to raise a woman's children. Now I'm talking about a man that impregnates a woman and she gives the children her last name and she's saying these are my children. Men do not want to raise her children. If a woman thinks the children are hers when they come from the father, then men do not like to support a woman's children if she's claiming his children as hers. Okay, the same way, because again, I've seen men get women pregnant in the West, and the women give the children her last name, and now the man feels like he's a stepdad to his own children. Right? The values are not there, and then there's far too, and then here's another thing, right? This has to do with polygyny, right? Multiple women, right? Male nature. Now, me personally, I don't believe men were created to be with one woman, right? I've always dealt with multiple women. But I do not believe that men's nature is supposed to be with one woman, right? I believe monogamy is the problem, not men dealing with multiple women. That's not the problem, right? I've seen men who had a woman that was dealing with a woman that believed in monogamy, and then I've seen men who deal with women that practice monogamy. The women want to be monogamous, right? They want the man to be monogamous. I've seen men deal with other women and a woman that doesn't like him dealing with other women, right? So I've always encouraged men to get rid of the woman that has a problem with you dealing with other women. because you know what I'm saying, and someone can attest to this. The woman that men are dealing with outside of this woman that wants monogamy, the other women that he deals with does not care if he deals with other women. But the one woman that's accusing him, oh, these men are cheaters, they're not loyal, get rid of them. And go be with the women that don't mind you being with other women. Right? Because those women that don't mind these men being with other women, those women are loyal to him. Right? He's always with those other women because those women are okay with what he do and how he move, right? So every time I see a brother that's, dealing with a woman that's like, you know, trying to tear down his nature and attack his nature, right? I say, man, get rid of her. Get rid of the woman that says things like, if a man is cheating on me, that I'm gonna leave him. Get rid of her. Because that's the outcome. If I know a woman, for example, if I was dealing with a woman that's just gonna leave me, if I'm dealing with somebody else, another woman, then I might as well get rid of her when she lets me know that she's gonna leave me one day or someday, or if anything like that happens. We're not talking about nothing criminal. We're not talking about nothing violent. We're not talking about nothing perverted, right? We're talking about something lawful. And if her values are not the same, then I suggest to men to leave her alone. Leave that one woman alone that has a problem with you dealing with other women. And those women that you're dealing with at the same time, go be with them. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of men have taken that advice, because for a lot of men, monogamy is the problem. It's not dealing with other women. That's not the problem. If the Most High is okay with it and He approves of it, then I definitely don't suggest answering to a woman and getting on her page of values. So a lot of these women today that have children, and again, the way I explain it is, if a woman can love multiple children that she has, whether it's by one man or by multiple men, then men can love multiple women the same way that women love multiple children. So again, it goes back to men can have sex with women that they don't like, and women can have sex with men that they're not in relationships with. And relationships mean, let's say, for example, a man meets a woman and takes her out on a quote unquote date. And then the man says, I think I like you. You want to be my girl. She'll say no. Men have ran into these women that say, I don't want no labels. I'm not trying to rush into no relationship. But she'll still have sex with that man. So if a woman can have sex without being in a relationship, understand men can have sex with a woman that he don't like, right? So for the godly men, we choose not to give our masculinity and our manhood to women that don't want to be in relationships. That's a lawful practice, right? So according to the Bible, a woman that used to be married cannot remarry if her previous husband is not deceased, if she's not a widow. So in the Bible, if a woman divorces a man and remarries, then she's considered an adulteress, right? Because she's leaving relationships and starting relationships like she has that right to end relationships and start relationships when sex is marriage and your previous husband is not deceased, right? That's unlawful, right? So I want to get into this real quick. All right, I think I made that point, but I want to get into this. This is John 4, right? It says, when therefore the Lord knew, this is Yahweh Shai, the Lord knew how the Pharisees had heard that Jesus made and baptized more disciples than John, right? It says, though Jesus himself baptized not, but his disciples, right? So Jesus didn't baptize, but his disciples did. All right. He left Judea and departed again into Galilee. And he must needs go through Samaria. So he had to go through Samaria. Then cometh he to a city of Samaria, which is called I want to say Sychar, but Sychar, right? We'll say Sychar. All right. Near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Okay, so he was coming into a portion of the land that Jacob gave to his son Joseph, one of his 12 sons. Now Jacob's well, which is a well for water, okay, Jacob's well was there. Jesus, who is Yahushua, therefore being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well. So he was sitting on the well. And it was about the 6th hour. There cometh a woman of Samaria. All right. Now she's not a Gentile. Okay. She's not a Gentile. She's not a Samaritan. She's from Samaria, but she's not a Samaritan. And this is where Christianity, which is paganism and white supremacy, tries to identify race with geographics, right? Like where you're born, right? And that's not race. Geographics, where you're born, does not change your race, okay? Now, that's carnal, but let's continue. There cometh the woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus, who is Yahushua, saith unto her, give me to drink. Okay? All right? For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. All right? So his disciples can't retrieve water for him. All right? Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, how is it that you being a Jew asketh drink of me? Okay? Which am a woman of Samaria. Okay? So she's confused, but she's under the impression that because she's from Samaria, that that Yahushua does not deal with Samaritans. So why is he dealing with her, right? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans, right? Now, Jesus, which is Yahushua, answered and said unto her, if you knewest the gifts of God, and who it is that saith to you, right? So if you knew the gift, right? And if you knew who I am, give me to drink, thou wouldst have asked him of him, and he would have given thee living water. Okay, so he's dropping a jewel on her, and he's telling her, he's making a metaphor to her. He's conveying a metaphor to her. Then the woman saith unto him, sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, right? Talking about the well, all right? And the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? So where's this living water going to come from? She's asking him, if you don't have nothing to get this water out of this well with. And 12, art thou greater than our father Jacob? She's asking him, which gave us the well. So Jacob is her father. She's saying Jacob, right? That makes her an Israelite, a Jew, or Israelite, right? She's a Hebrew. Okay, she's just from Samaritan. The Israelites were scattered all over, in every nation, and everybody else's nation. So she's a Hebrew that is living in Samaria. Okay. It says, she says, art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Jesus, which is Yahushua, answered and said unto her, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. Right? Talking about physical water. You're going to be thirsty again with this physical water, right? But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. So he's talking about wisdom, knowledge, right? But the water that I shall give him shall be in him, right? Knowledge. In him, a well of water, which is knowledge, springing up into everlasting life, which is wisdom, knowledge, okay? The woman saith unto him, Sir, give me this water, talking about the knowledge, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. So she says, show me this water you're referring to, not the water that's in this well. Jesus, which is Yahushua, saith unto her, Go, he's telling her to go, call your husband and come here. So go get your husband and bring him to me is what he's telling her to do, right? Now check this out. This is another part of what I'm saying about single motherhood and how the values and all of this, right? All right. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. All right. This is modern day black women say the same thing, right? I've never been married is what modern day in 2024 women say with children, okay? I've never been married. And these are the ones that don't share the same values as the Bible, and they never had a ceremony and a ring put on their finger and all this kind of stuff, all right? Now let's just understand this confusion, right? The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus, which is Yahushua, said unto her, You have well said, I have no husband, right? For you have had 5 husbands, right? So he can see, because the Most High has the all-seeing eye ability, right? He says, for you have had 5 husbands, and he whom you now have is not thy husband. In that saith you truly. So she's with the man. She's currently with the man, right? Sexually. She's with the man. She's saying, I have no husband. Now, I say that to say today, single mothers, women in America, behind enemy lines, without biblical values, are claiming that they're involved sexually with someone. They probably had children by this person that they were not in relationships with, according to what they claim, right? Like this woman, this Samaritan woman that's a Hebrew at the well. But sex is marriage, okay? The act of sex is supposed to be preserved for marriage. Far too many Western women don't subscribe to the laws of the Bible and the laws of heaven, or else they would understand that they're not to have sex unless it's under the law, and then a covenant can be established and a value system is there, and they can do all these acts of sex with their husband. So you have women that are prostituting, okay, and those will be your 304s or your whores, according to the Bible, right? So the act of sex under the biblical law is marriage, okay? And women today don't believe that. Far too many women today don't believe that, okay? It's a covenant, okay? It's not a contract marriage, right? And then the mindset of the Western woman, she's not even, she doesn't even practice her laws of the Bible, right? She doesn't even practice the laws of heaven. She doesn't believe that a covenant holds any weight, but she believes a contract, a universal contract, that just requires her signature and a notary and some shekels, right, holds more weight than changing her values and having the laws of the Lord She don't believe in God. So when men find themselves talking to these Western women, and single motherhood comes on the table, where she says she has children, and then she says that the father's not around. When men naturally fall away from a woman and supporting the situation, because if they're not together, because he's not there. And if, like I said, if she goes, if she takes it, even because again, there's a few different ways that a woman can end up as a single mother. She can end up as a single mother by choice, or she can end up as a single mother because she's accusing the man that she was with of some sort of foul act or some sort of foul deed. But see, if a woman, like if I, with my children, these women had to go to war with me because they didn't have my permission or my consent to take my children, right? And a lot of when these men start asking questions like, well, how did you end up as a single mother? Like, did y'all have a conversation about this? Did he try to fight you so you wouldn't take his children? You know, who initiated the breakup? And the majority of the time, it's the women. You know, so women in the Bible were not filing for divorce. The Bible says a woman is allowed to leave her husband, but not allowed to divorce, right? Leaving and divorcing is two different things. Women over here in the West, in America, are filing for divorce. They're putting a man on child support. They're keeping his children. They're not giving the children the man's last name, right? The children believe they come from their mothers over here in the West, right? So single motherhood has created a legacy of being a single mother, right? You got this boss bee mentality where they don't need a man. When they're around other women, they say they don't need a man. Then when they get in front of their child's fathers, they'll say, well, you don't help me do nothing. Or you will have the men that are only finding themselves being a father if they're supporting single mothers. So she decides not to be with the child's father, then she wants this man to support her as a single mother. And you have men that are contributing to the situation because they're like, oh, well, those are my children. They're over there. I'm not going to not support that, right? Then you have men like me who will go the distance in attempting to retain my children, right? And then the women will fight tooth and nail for men like me not to have 50% custody, because you have women fighting men who just want 50% custody. They don't even want 100% custody, right? But the single motherhood is normalized today for a few different reasons, because the men are doing it too. I spoke to one woman and she said, well, when I left my husband, he suggested that I take the children. And I said, so that's another way for you to end up as a single mother, because all he has to do is come pick his kids up, spend a little time with them, and then drop them back off. And he can do this again with another woman. So then, like, when you flip it around and it's like, okay, you meet a man meets a woman with children, and then she's willing to give those children to the child's father so she can have 100% of her time given to the next man, then it's like, okay, if you do that, ladies, then you're doing the same thing that men are being accused of. You're creating families and you're walking away from them, right? So, you know what I'm saying? So we have to study this dynamic of the so-called black community where they've normalized single motherhood, right? Christianity says that Mary was a virgin. So she got pregnant by a ghost, right? That's superstition. She was a virgin, meaning she was in her early 20s, right? There's different definitions in Hebrew for virgin. She could have been a virgin, and the first time she had sex, she got pregnant, right? A lot of women don't know when they don't know when they ovulate, and they become pregnant, right? You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of these children that were born by women that don't even know when they can get pregnant, right? They don't even know how their cycle works or when they ovulate, right? So it's a lot of these situations, right? So I just wanted to touch on the position of power that women have with sex, and then the men's position of power of being the head of their relationship, because it's the values of the men that the women have to join with, right? That's how it goes, because the law flows through the man, not the woman. And and too many men in the West are joining a woman's value system, right? And then when they don't abide by these values in terms of the woman, then they find themselves failing in a same situation where these men ain't loyal. You know, the women are measuring a man's money, you know, measuring him by his money, you know. And if you sit back and watch how women are the gatekeepers of sex, again, they have sex all the time without being in relationships. You hear it all the time. They'll say, I'm not rushing into a relationship. I'm not trying to find myself, and I just got out of a relationship. You know, I just want to have fun, you know. And she'll do all kind of things that only a wife should be doing to her husband and with her husband. And then the women are not studying a man's nature. They're too busy downplaying it and trying to, destroy it. And it starts when men are boys. See a lot of young boys and women are tearing down their spirit and their nature, right? So with the Samaritan woman, all right, Yahweh Shah tells her in 18, for you have had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband, right? In that saith you truly, right? So she keeps saying she's not married, and sex is marriage. 19, the woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet, right? See that? So I just wanted to touch on this briefly. I hope I edify someone. Again, I know that all of my followers may or may not be biblical. So this is a beak, and I'm not an American, right? Culturally, okay. My race is not based on geographics, okay. Just because I was born in this land does not make me an American, okay. That is a identity crisis that so-called white people suffer from, basing their race on geographics. They'll be born in Africa. They'll say they're African. They'll be born in Europe, say they're European. Born over in Austria, claim to be Austrian. Hey man, you're just a Edomite Austrian. You're just a Edomite Irishman. You're just a Edomite Australian. You're just a Edomite South African. Okay? Hijacking cultures does not change your race. Okay? That's how this goes. An apple in Asia and an apple in America and an apple in Mexico is still an apple. Okay? It's not a Mexican apple. Okay? I'm not an American Negro. Okay? Because my culture is tied is tied to my race. Okay? Not a so-called black. Nobody's black, nobody's white. I never met a white person. That's a social construct. Check out my previous videos that I edify with these subjects. Okay. But again, I want to wish all of my subscribers the good health. I hope this reaches you in high spirits. I hope you and yours are safe and in good health. And I hope that you are taking the proper measures and precautions against these agendas that are waged against us by America, which is a race. We can call it the government. We can call them the white people. We can call them the elites. Whatever you want to call them, it's a race of people, though. All right? And I know how their doctrine and philosophies work. Okay? They suffer from an identity crisis. And historically, the Edomites, the so-called whites, gathered all races together in support of white survivalism. So the number one threat is white supremacy. The number two threat is the so-called black woman, along with the so-called black church. Okay? So this is a beak, and I want to say shalom, peace be unto you, all my subscribers. Again, I want to thank all my subscribers. I'm just I'm not trying to profit off of none of this stuff. I'm just for me, I get to it's like therapy. I get to have something to discuss, and I'm not here to I'm not here because of my imagination, right? I have a lot of experience, and I have a few things that that enlighten me, all right, along with Yahweh, why Yahweh Shai, right? So again, to hell with Jesus, to heaven with Yahweh Shai, and the law, statutes, and commandments. I don't believe in false gods or false doctrine, and Jesus is a false god. White supremacy has made him a deity, okay, a statue, a graven image, and he's not a so-called white man. All right? He led our people into captivity, this deity, this false god. All right? So that's another subject, all right? But again, I want to wish all my subscribers great health, and again, I hope this reaches you in high spirits, and I hope you and yours are safe and taking the proper measures and precautions against these agendas that are waged against us by this place. Shalom.